Stephanie, quick question. Do teachers have to have a cutesy themed classroom?
I hope not, because I never do.
Okay, we're done. The answer is no. You do not have to have a themed cutesy classroom. We give you permission to not have that.
Only if it brings you joy.
You can choose to, but you don't have to be an effective teacher.
Don't staying at school till midnight, 3 days before school because
something wasn't labeled right.
Yeah, you don't have that superhero figure you built or the giant tree out of paper or whatever. It's okay.
The only time I'm coming in early before contract hours is if you have snacks and we're just watching a show on TV, because there's no way. I'm not going in July, and I'm not going in until we are being paid to be there. And then I am using the district money to outfit the classroom with things. Unless there is something, we're not going to totally say, no, of course you can't bring anything in your classroom, because we've done that. We've brought in things. I already did. She already did. But if it brings you joy, if it's something that is special to you, if it was something that is special to the children, by all means do it. But do it when you are getting paid. And if you can, do it with district money, because we do not think that teachers should have to live up to some standard where it's some big themed, gorgeous classroom from, Pinterest or classroom makeover, whatever, to be revealed to the children. I've never once in my 20 years of teaching seen an 11-year-old swayed by shiplap or remember their pencils because of the farmhouse decor.
We were talking about this. Do you remember what your classrooms look like? I can't remember a single classroom where something at all memorable, except maybe for some work or maybe a chart that
maybe. All I remember is chalkboards. I don't know. We went to the school in the 70s and 80s, and all I remember is brown.
Yeah.
Everything was brown in the 80s. I know everybody thinks that the 80s was like neon and fun. It's not. It was brown. It was making ashtrays for your parents in ceramics class, right? And yeah, it was not cute. It was not fun looking, but it was a great class. Like, I have fun memories of school and being in there, but
I can't remember what a single bulletin board looked like.
No.
Think about it really hard. I'm sure someone out there's like, I remember.
Yeah. But I remember my teacher putting up our work. That's what I remember.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why we wanted to record this episode or make this video is to give all of the teachers out there who feel maybe, pressure. I don't know if that's the right word, but everyone else is doing these cute things, or there's great videos and wonderful images and Pinterest boards and whatever full of teachers with super creative ideas. I don't want to dissuade anybody from putting time and effort in their classroom. What I want to give everybody permission for is you don't have to do that. There is nothing that says that you can't be an effective teacher just by having the space physically ready to receive students, meaning desks or tables or whatever the kids sit at, a place to put their stuff, and somewhere for you to stand up there and talk and give directions before they go and do everything they need to do. Like, that is perfectly fine.
I've even stopped putting up bulletin boards. Like, we have the luxury of the entire class is like a one giant pincushion. You can put something in every wall, and that's not a luxury a lot of people have. But if I have a cute border I found in my closet, which I will, because I take things that, I don't want it to go to waste, so I keep it, right? But I'll just use that, whatever I have, and maybe even the top or around the bottom. But a lot of times I just stick it right on the wall, and I'm just done with worrying about hanging butcher paper perfectly straight.
No. First of all, I can't even rip it off the big roller, right?
Oh, yeah. Because it's so cheap now. It used to be really nice.
The quality of the paper has gone down. That's why I use dollar store tablecloths, because they're already rectangular. They now cost $1.25.
Or if you're making a small one, if you get the $1 gift wrap.
Oh, and
it's already
it's already sized,
kind of sized and squared. And that's because I have one behind my desk where it's like my little personal space and my schedules and everything. I just use that.
Yeah, and then you're done. Yeah, it does not need to be top to bottom themes. You don't need to have every possible thing labeled or individualized. And nothing is more heartbreaking too than spending a bunch of time putting kids' names on everything only to find out that like your roster is wrong.
Yeah.
Or that kid goes by their middle name, not their first name,
Right.
or there's a nickname, or like, God forbid you like spelled it wrong. Like I
Yeah.
added a letter to this poor kid's name on their cubby and I felt terrible. I was like, oh, sorry. But yeah, so you don't want to invest all that time in doing all that only to have something change. And then, oh, whoops, I have this new student and now their birthday is not up on the birthday board or
Yes.
whatever it might be. And I think that it's okay to wait for all that. And also, even if you teach the youngest students, even if you're in preschool or pre-K or kinder, yes, I understand their stuff, a lot more of their stuff needs to be labeled because they're still reading, but there's so much the kids can do. Right. So there's so much, and the kids, especially the grade I teach, which is fifth, they like their own handwriting and what their stuff looks like. So they can label everything or they can, put their stuff on. Plus, you need something for them to do that first day.
And like, for example, name tags on your desk. I've rarely had a child be able to keep a name tag longer than a couple months.
Right.
Because if they're not picking at it, somebody else is. And while I get some of them are nice, like number lines and everything, I've started, although I was really bad at it last year, this is my goal to do this better next year, having instead like a toolkit where you have all those number lines and everything in there. And you have your toolkit for all those things that you can add as you get them. And name tags, I'll just write it on the sentence strips. And sometimes I'll go, you can choose 5 stickers to put on there. And they're like so excited.
Right.
Oh, this is 3rd grade, so I don't know. But even older kids.
They like stickers. Why not?
Yeah. Just let them decorate it with their name on it. And I don't even sometimes decide where they're sitting. I let them decide.
On the first day?
Yeah.
Oh,
Because, no, I've done this. It kind of depends on my mood. But one theory is you let them sit where they want, and then you decide where they're sitting later. Because you're like,
because you can see who grouped.
Yeah,
and who
those two
merged.
should not be together. Oh, this person's all by themselves. And then you say, today you can sit where you want. You'll show me if you're able to still
it's
sitting
like a
there.
test.
It is. I've done that before.
Okay.
Or I will often check with last year's teacher. What does the seating chart look like to you? Do you see any potential problems?
Yeah. And I think, just to like be very clear, the thing your space should feel like, from my perspective for the students, is it should feel safe.
Right.
And I mean, physically and emotionally, it should feel safe. It should feel welcoming. And that can be however you interpret that. And I think students, they like predictability. They like being able to understand, oh, my backpack goes there, or, oh, I sit here. So I think those sort of things are fine to have, either labeled or a seating chart you've projected or something so they know where things go. So I will say, maybe like tidy or organized-ish for the kid spaces, maybe not behind the closets or whatever, but in their space, because they are so excited to come back from summer and see their friends.
Yes.
And just be social again with a huge group of kids. And I actually love the first day because everyone's like very well behaved.
Tired. You're like, oh, this is going to be a great year. And then you're like,
they're tired. They just want to see their friends. And honestly, you don't need to impress them with the physical space because they just want to go home and be able to say, my new teacher is so nice, right? Or I'm really excited to have her as my teacher because, you made that kid feel welcome or safe or whatever it might be. They're not going to be like, wow, she really knocked it out of the park with that bulletin board. Like, I'm so glad she went for the double-ledged border because that really sold it. Before then, I wasn't sure. But then, I saw the decor and I knew that it was. And I get, it's you're there all day too, right? So you want a space that makes you happy. We just want to give you permission of like, you don't need to be in there 3 days before school. I think there is this, I blame social media, which we are on right now, but I blame social media because
everything on them.
I think in some ways there's so many beautiful, wonderful ideas, but then there's that also that like, well, look at what this person's doing, or look at, they posted or they did a picture of. And I just want to give people permission that you don't have to do any of that to be an effective teacher. And while it might look great, I guess what I'm saying is I've been an effective teacher where I got hired 3 days before I walked into that classroom and it was bare. Like it didn't even have a class library or anything. And those kids were just as awesome and wonderful. And I had such a great experience on that first day as days where I was spending 3 or 4 days setting up this like beautiful classroom. Like, the physical stuff you put up doesn't matter. What matters is your energy and the kids and showing you
Right.
care.
That, and like the walls, and like you said, making it their own space. I always, the first couple days, I always have a couple activities where they're making something and I just slap it on the wall right away.
Mhm.
And that's the decoration. And that means more to them
Yeah.
than, and plus it's a little kind of test, like, can they draw a picture?
Oh,
Can
yeah,
they
yeah.
print? Can they do all these things?
Can they follow
depending on can they
directions?
follow directions?
Yeah.
Is theirs the one that looks completely different from anybody else's?
Yeah, and I also think too, I've been in the place where like I spent a lot of time wanting to make a space feel really nice. And then, I mean, this was early in my career. And then I realized, oh no, I should have spent all of that time working on my routines and procedures or something else.
Yeah.
It's like, excuse me for this like side story, but I remember I was talking to my midwife. I've had 2 children, and I remember I was like reading all these like birthing books, and she's like, "Honey, that baby is coming no matter what. You need to read parenting books." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, that actually makes more sense." Or like nursing books or co-sleeping or whatever you want to do like after the baby's here. She's like, yeah, maybe it'll take up to 12 hours or a day, for the birth, the whole labor or whatever. She's like, but then you got all that other stuff. She's like, you're going to be fine through the birth. That baby's coming. So it's like, yes, it's great to have the space to welcome the children, but if you don't have your routines and procedures and the stuff you actually need them to know on that first day, then you are now just stressed out and, you're backpedaling or they're destroying that beautiful classroom you made. And I'm going to link...
picking at that special name tag that you took all the time doing calligraphy and everything, and it's just trash.
Yeah. And I will link a video and a template that we came up with that has every single routine and procedure we could possibly think of that teachers in...
I forgot about that.
I forgot. I was looking it up for this video. I was like, oh, wait, we have that.
That's what I need.
And it has all of them. But what's nice about it is we wrote it for kinder through like high school age and divided it by section. And so what you can do, though, is just delete the ones you don't want. So instead of having to come up, I have to remember to do this, or what do we do with passing out papers, or like, what about talking about the syllabus or whatever it is, we wrote as many things as we possibly could so that you could just eliminate the ones you don't want. And then there's a way that you could give us feedback and I can edit it too if there's something on there you would like that other people would benefit from. But that's where I spend my time on. And that's my first 2 weeks of school and prepping, is making sure all of that stuff is ready to teach those routines and procedures. And if you are going to spend time on decor, which I think is perfectly fine, just make sure you're getting paid while you're stapling stuff up, is I've tried really hard to make sure that it not only reflects the individual students with maybe their work or whatever, but that there are things where I have thought about representation of who those students are. And that's another reason why I don't want to buy a themed, paid for, packaged whatever, because what is up on my walls looks different depending on the children sitting in front of me. So for example, I've had a student who was deaf or hard of hearing. And so I wanted to make sure there was plenty of things in the classroom that looked like her, that there was characters that had cochlear implants, that the alphabet sign had ASL, the fingerspelling language up there, so that the other students could start to learn and communicate with her. She could hear, but she also had an ASL interpreter. And those sort of things were important to me. That doesn't mean I take all that down since she's not in my class anymore or whatever. I can leave all that up. But there are certain elements that I want to make sure that it is accessible for the students in front of me, or if there's students who have used wheelchairs and I had to make sure that the space was open enough that their wheelchair could get through.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's things like that I want to spend my time and energy on. And that might change year to year depending on who the students are in front of me. So that's basically why I don't want to do like a top to bottom theme, because that theme or that decor or that whatever might not work for that particular group of students. And I think thinking about students' accessibility, thinking about them culturally, and having things up that represent them is what they're going to want to see, not like, whatever. I can't even think. Misty really likes plants. So I'm like head to toe plant stuff is not them. So we basically spent this first half saying you everything not to do. So now let's talk about what sort of stuff you should put up to make it feel welcoming and so the kids are in the right spot and they know where to be. And I think if you are going to spend a lot of time on signs or whatever it might be, it should be for the outside of your classroom.
Oh, yes.
Because nothing is more stressful for a child or even like a parent that's like dropping the kid off and trying to navigate as them trying to figure out if they're at the right classroom. And I'm laughing because 20 years of teaching, this happens every year. And I don't blame the kids because I would be in this exact same spot. The bell rings and they don't know whether they're supposed to go line up at the playground or line up at our door. And I feel terrible for the kids. So that's why I always put a sign up that's like, school starts at 8 o'clock, so that if I'm running around making...
See, I'm writing this down. So I'm like, oh,
School starts at 8 o'clock or whatever time it starts. School starts at 8 o'clock. When the bell rings, meet me at the whatever table or line up here or whatever it might be, because if there's going to be family or parents or whoever they are dropping the children off, it's usually that first day that they're going to hang out with them to make sure the kid makes it to where they're supposed to make it. And inevitably they go straight to the classroom door, which I would as a parent. And sometimes, especially if you're a brand new teacher, please don't feel pressured to have your door open and like welcome everybody. I know we just spent all this time talking about welcoming families, but sometimes you need those last 10 minutes to like do little things or get something put up on the TV or run to the bathroom. So it is okay to have your door closed with a little sign on the front that says, Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so's class, whatever grade you teach, write the room number again. I know it's on the door, but write it again. And then have a little message that says, school starts at 8, line up at the blah, blah, blah when the bell rings, or I will open the door, at 8 or whatever it might be. And then if you teach middle or high school, obviously having the bell schedule up so that they know, okay, first period. And if you have rosters for your classes, having those up are super helpful. That way, nothing's more nerve-wracking for a middle or high school student than to be like, is this my third period class? Where am I supposed to be? Or am I in the right place? Like, that's what they need to know. Am I in the right place? So if you cannot make signs big enough for your name and the class and whatever, is make that as big as possible on the outside of your door so that people know where to go. It
also might be helpful to get clarification of what the expectations are school-wide, because I know sometimes on the first day of school, they're like, everybody's just going to come, or no, you have to meet them, or there's an assembly or something. So you might want to just double check what is going to be the first day procedure. 'Cause that's not always.
Yeah, that's a good point. First, check what everyone is supposed to be doing.
And is that every day or different on the first day?
Yeah, because oftentimes, like kinder or first has their own thing because they want the kids contained and not just like running down the hall to the classroom. So maybe they wait on the playground, whereas the older kids go to the classroom. And then if you're like us, where you're teaching at a school that you've taught there for a couple of years and those kids already know your classroom, they're going to beeline it to your classroom. So you can be like, no, like we're going to line up over there. But yeah, having all that very clear, even to the point of, if the kids are lining up on spots on the playground, have signs out there that are like, this is Miss DeRosier's class, this is Miss Hedgepath's class, just so Hedgepath Lopez, so that they know where they're supposed to be. And I've even gone so far. This is like, talk about over the top. I actually just had like my name on a sign like I was a tour guide because, I didn't know, like maybe they couldn't see or whatever. And I just held it up and they came to me. And I think if you're going to spend time getting something ready or doing up signage like that, make sure they outside of the classroom, make sure they know where to go. Especially if you teach like kinder or it's the first grade where the kids and the families are coming onto campus. It's helpful for them to know exactly where to go.
Another thing about first day versus every other day. Sometimes, because we have a couple buses at our school, but we also have a lot of people that walk or get picked up, or they go to after school.
Oh, yeah.
And so I always try to ask, like, first thing, how are you going home today? How do you normally go home, and how are you going home today? Because I've had it where kids get picked up on the first day of school, but never again in their whole lives.
Right.
It's always on the bus, or they're waiting for after school. Or
if your first week has a different schedule or dismissal than the rest of the week, and you have eyes on family or parents or guardians, say, today we are getting out at 12:30. Or like whatever it might be. Or like today or the buses don't start till Friday or whatever it might be. But yeah, asking the kids or any adult you see, how are they getting home today? And then having just a roster where you
Because I remember once actually forgetting, like, oh no, I didn't figure out the bus schedule. How are they getting home? And I believe that was when I like, who's going home this way? And like actually taking a poll. But now I actually have a graph. I do a graph of how they're getting home most of the time. So I know.
Oh, like as an assignment, they do a little,
like as a group graph, because then you can show them a bar graph, whatever one you want, Wonderful. Or you can even do it in different ways. It's a whole teaching thing you get to do first day of school. Anyway, that way I would know the kids that if I was really worried about what bus they went on, I could go look it up. And I wasn't looking up, 24 kids. I was looking up the 3 that I was worried about. You didn't
have to go down the whole roster. You're like, I need to figure out where these 5 children go.
Right. And if you're like in the lower grades, sometimes you can ask, do you go home with an older brother or sister?
Oh, right.
And that will be helpful.
Yeah, that's super helpful. I have a funny story to tell about this where all of my student teaching and any of my, like when I was in credentialing school, was done in public school. And then one of my first jobs as like a real teacher out on her own was on private school. And so in public school, yes, the bus situation is very stressful. You have to figure out, sometimes they have little passes, there's different lines that they have to go to, and you have to make sure everybody gets to where they're supposed to get. The first week, it might be different, or this is infuriating. The route they ride coming to school is a different number than
they're different numbers.
Yeah.
And the number on the bus isn't always the route number. It's like this little square that you have to what is this?
Bus 33, but I take route 7. But then, anyways, so yes, it's very like stressful, and you want to make sure the child goes to where they're supposed to go. It doesn't get on the wrong bus. And so I was like spending all this time kind of prepping all that. And it was the first day. And I did what you did of like, okay, who's going on the bus? And all the children laughed at me. And it was because in most private schools, but definitely in this one, there was no bus. So I had spent all this time and energy. So a hint for setting up your classroom, before you make bus passes, ask if there's a bus. Because
that would be helpful.
That would be one of those things you don't want to waste your time on if there's no bus.
And that is also, if you're changing grades, that is so, like, that's half your day in the first day of kindergarten. How are children getting home and what bus?
Yes.
And everything.
Yeah, especially if it's half day kindergarten, because by the time they all show up, they got to go.
Yeah. And so as they get older, what bus they're riding becomes way less important. And so, by 4th or 5th grade, there might be one or two, like new kid that's new to the school isn't quite sure.
Yes.
Because usually they're like, I know where I go, or I got to go pick up my kindergarten.
Yeah, the 5th grader knows. But that kindy kid is just, I don't know. Like they barely know their name. And then if you're like, what's your parents' name? They're like, Mom. And then you're like, can't find anything. I will give this one hint to every first grade teacher out there. So if you work at a school where kinder is half day, and you are a first grade teacher, at your first recess, the only thing you need to remember is to tell the children, do not eat your whole lunch. Because
that's true.
One of my first grade teacher friends told me that she learned the first year she's teaching first grade, that they came back from first morning recess having eaten their entire lunch. And then, that's at like 9:30, and then lunch rolls around and they either don't have food, or like she did the hot lunch, whatever. Like there was no food to be had for these babies. And they were very sad. And then the afternoon becomes troublesome. So make sure they don't eat their whole lunch at the first recess. And maybe that's good for everybody. I mean, I could see a 5th grader doing that, because they're used to being home.
Yeah, well, they're
like, oh yeah, that's right.
I also you have to remember, I don't know if we're getting off topic, but their schedules are on. I can go to the bathroom when I want. I can eat when I want, or different, like only get to eat at this time or whatever.
Or I eat breakfast at 11 because I woke up at 10:30.
Yeah,
whatever
right.
it might be.
Like, oh yeah, And so I am definitely more lenient on kids that need to use the bathroom.
Oh, totally.
And they're all like nervous, and they're, you don't be hard nosed the first few days on things like that. It's not fair.
It's not worth it. Yeah, and it's not fair. And like we're all tired. Okay. Every single one of us is tired. So just give them the grace of getting to go when they need to go or eat. Except if you're first grade, don't let them eat all their food at the first recess, because then they're going to be really hungry at lunch.
And then also little kids, they're like, if you start with a half day kindergarten, they're just like, they fall apart.
Oh, yeah, because they've never, yes, exactly. If they've done preschool half day or kinder half day, and now they're in school the whole day.
Are we going home? They have a hard time.
Have a little siesta after lunch. You don't need to do content.
Also brings me, you have to remember, even if you're teaching the same grade, the students you're getting are a whole year behind the kids you just had.
Right.
Because I remember a couple times feeling like, why can't they do this? I'm like, oh yeah,
they're little. That's a good thing to remember is that, yes, the beginning of the year is going to feel different than who you just handed
And
off.
we're saying all these things is because we have forgotten. I just had the entire month off and I did a pretty good job of really not thinking about.
It's cool. We are going to have another episode or another video where we talk about what we do the first day. And I want to be really clear, like, it's pretty minimal. Meaning, it's not that we don't do a bunch of things, because we do. But it is the first 2 weeks of school, I spend just time on routines and procedures and expectations and community over and over and over again. And I really love it. I love them learning what the group is, how we're going to move together, what our norms are going to be, and all that sort of stuff, and them becoming increasingly more relaxed and welcome. I am not pressured by curriculum or pacing or any of that. I just really want to get to know the kids, and I want to make sure we're moving together. And then, yes, that it feels weird for 2 weeks to just focus on all those things. Then the rest of the year is awesome. Like, it just rolls really well. The kids know the limits and boundaries of things. Of course, we all have like our bad days or like challenges, but it is such a pleasure to put all that time in the beginning and really truly enjoy the whole rest of the year. And so maybe that's what we're trying to get across is, put your time and your energy into the things that you think are going to have a long-term benefit. And like those adorable pencils you bought are going to be eaten up in the pencil sharpener immediately. And so maybe think of things that are...
And those adorable pencils, this is off topic, but the ones that are all cute with the paper on it just destroy your pencil sharpener.
Yeah, don't buy those. Sorry, we're going to... If there's some like pencil company that like blacklists us now, good, make better pencils. Because, the one where it's like...
The paper, I just like, what are you doing? I'm like, I have to peel off the paper to do it.
So, yes. So a lot of times all that kind of cutesy fun stuff. And nothing is more disheartening than spending your own money on something and then watch it be like destroyed in front of you.
Yeah.
My children.
Yes.
And so, yes, save your money and get the school or district to buy those basic supplies if you can. And then if they're not giving you any more money, don't spend it. Like, that's why I'm so pro union. I'm like, talk to your union, talk to the, group. Teachers should not be spending their own money.
Although I used to, not as much now. I used to allow myself one teachery thing that I would buy for myself that I wanted to make my life easier.
Sure.
Like a certain timer, or I once bought a gross of pencils. There was like 144 pre-sharpened pencils.
Not like gross, like ew, gross.
No, a gross. Isn't it gross?
No, I'm the one that doesn't understand language.
Isn't that's an old-timey thing. Because I hate to sharpen pencils so much, and ours
so
never
worth the extra 5 cents a pencil.
Yeah, I just would buy sharpened pencils just to start out with a sharpened pencil.
No, all that is completely fine. And like last year, I actually rewatched the video where I talk about how you and I both saw that kid rocking chair at the thrift store, and I beat you to it, and I went and got it. That's buy those things that you like. Just don't spend hundreds and hundreds or thousands or whatever people spend just like decorating the whole space, unless you have like disposable income, in which case, like, is your district hiring? I don't have disposable income to just, spend on all that.
And, sometimes you buy a bunch of stuff and you find out either it's in the supply closet or someone will order it for you and you didn't have to spend your money on it.
Yeah. Like one of the things I was so happy that was part of our like class funds is I was dying for those skin tone colored markers and colored pencils, like the legit skin tone, not just like yellow or like whatever. And I got
jaundiced children.
Yeah, exactly. I have like sets of them, like of the markers and the colored pencils and the paper, the skin tone construction paper. And I love those. And those they cost more. And that's the type of thing that I'm like, yes, the district, I'm so happy that they allocated funds for classroom supplies, because that's the thing I would want to spend my money on so the children have access to. But it adds up, it's like $100 or whatever for a class that, yes, if there's some little thing that makes you happy, by all means, spend your money. What I just don't want people to feel pressure that it has to be performative.
And also limit it. Like, okay, this is my treat because it's going to make my life easier.
Yeah.
like the 144 pre-sharpened pencils.
Yeah, that write that down for me. There are some, if you are going to go in early or if you are going to spend time on campus, there are some people that you should be spending your time with or making their jobs easier. Or if you're going to put energy into something, this is what I would do, which is befriend or help make the jobs easier for any like support staff or front office. Like if you're going to put your energy into connections, yes, I think making friends with like your team and whatever is really important. Like, oh, okay, if I'm on a second grade team, I need to know my team.
And custodian.
But yes, front office, custodian, library, the special ed teachers, whether the kids push in or not or whatever, any of the like music or whatever the classes go to, because especially before school starts, front office and custodial staff. I know you feel like, oh, like whatever, like my sink not draining is like a huge problem, which yes, I understand when you have like grubby little children, having a sink that drains is really important. And I know that's like your top priority, but you have to understand that the custodial staff has been cleaning classrooms and removing like junk or like doing whatever they're doing.
They have to do it like 30 different times. So, it could be that yours just somehow fell off the list or they had to switch hallways.
Yours is the fourth clog thing, like on the list of 8 or like whatever. Yeah. Like they have been spending the entire summer cleaning windowsills and shampooing carpets and like repairing whatever electrical or like dealing with what was our issue? The like roots in the trees were going into the plumbing and like causing problems. Like serious problems they're dealing with. So they will get to your issue. Their job is taking care of the school. They care about the kids. They care about your and the children's experience. But like stopping them in the hallway as they're on to their next thing is probably not the best move because they have a prioritization of tasks, and it's not just your classroom. It's the 42 other classrooms they have to deal with. And the front office, yes, I know it's really, really important for you to get your roster and know like which actual children in your class, but they are the front line for 400 or whatever families calling in, making sure their kid is registered, making sure they're like at the right school or that like...
Or asking the same question 100 times.
Asking like, what's the first day of school? Or like, what time does school start? Or like, oh my goodness, yes, my third graders enrolled, but we haven't gotten the kinder info, whatever it might be, right? And so... this is what I imagine. Like they're at the desk and they're the customer service. They're the front facing part for the families, right? So that's the priority, like making sure the kids are where they're supposed to be and the families know what paperwork, or like they're taking in 1,000 copies of immunization and blah, blah, blah.
Oh, and this kid needs this medication at this time.
Yes. And like the like health staff is like trying to make sure all the that the allergies are like communicated to the, cafeteria staff, whatever it might be. That it's a tremendous amount of information. And they're like answering phones and they're like doing stuff. So when you like walk up to them in the middle of them doing stuff and you're like, oh, the copier's jammed. Sorry, I'm laughing because like I feel like the poor front office always gets bugged about the copier. Like not only would I just like flip my lid if I was in their space, I'd be like, the prompts are on the machine, figure it out. But you are not the only person doing that to them. There's like 40 other people interrupting them every 15 seconds or whatever it is for their problems. So like, please make these people's jobs easier, because if they get interrupted that much and I don't get my things, like I'm upset, like let them do their job because they have to make sure everything is done. And yes, like you might have something urgent, but they have every front office person I've ever met has been really good at like prioritization of tasks, meaning like they're dealing with stuff from every direction and from the administration. Like the administration has like a laundry list of things that they have to like get done and communicate. So if you give it to them in whatever their preferred method is, whether it's email,
I was going to say, find out their preferred method. Do they want a note in their box?
Like a physical note.
Sitting on their desk. They want an email. Do they want you to call them? Do they actually want you to just come up and ask for certain things?
Yeah, like maybe they're like, no, just come to me after 3:00 or whatever it might be. Figure it out and then do that once. Meaning, say you have 10 things that need to be done. Limit it to 3 and put it in an email. And those other 7 things can be dealt with at another time, I promise you. So, yes. And then that way they can prioritize without constantly being interrupted. And I feel like the tech people get interrupted. Like the tech people are like walking from one place to another and they're like, oh, wait, my such and such isn't working. Or like, oh, I can't turn on.
Especially at the beginning of the year because everything was unplugged and now it's like, it doesn't work.
Exactly. And it's like, every tech person has been so kind. They'll stop what they're doing and go help that person. And then I lean my head out the hall and I'm like, no. They were on their way to me. Do not interrupt them with the fact that your TV is not working. I will come over and plug in your HDMI cable. But they actually need to make sure there's a Wi-Fi router.
That's helpful to have some teenager or young adult around.
Oh, yeah, they can just help.
That just reminded me I have to talk to my son and say, what day can you come in and just put everything together?
Plug everything
in, make up sure it works. I mean, I could do it, but it'll take me twice as long.
So, yes. So if you're going to spend time doing anything to be helpful or whatever, like help out the front office, help out the custodian, or at the very least, just make their jobs easier. Like just stay out of the way so that they can do.
Because then when you really need something, they'll go, wow, it must be important because you never asked me anything.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. They're like, oh, Stephanie walked straight to the desk. She had something to say.
No.
She must need something. Do not be rude to them. Do not be curt. This is like totally off topic, but I feel like the front office always has to be the bearer of the tough news. Like, you just lost your prep because now you have to go sub.
It's not their fault.
It's not their fault.
Don't shoot the messenger.
I know. Don't blame those poor people. Like when they the front office. No. I have this joke where they're like, "Hey, Miss D," and I know that they're gonna say, "Hey, I'm just letting you know." We're working on getting a sub. There always are.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works out and you don't lose your prep. Hey, we're working on getting a sub. But just a heads up, you lost your third period prep because whatever, right? Like we're working a sub. And then they're like waiting for the person to get all mad. And I always go, yes! Like just because I'm being sticky. And I'm like, all right, cool, thank you. And then they like laugh and we hang up.
Yeah.
Because I feel bad because I'm sure people are like, oh, are you kidding me?
No, well, I've heard that there are people that get like, and that's
not cool,
you don't want to be on the list of someone who has to turn in your field trip forms or something.
Yeah, and they're the ones actively trying to get a sub for that person or like whatever. So like, don't make them crazy because maybe they're like, well, maybe
they find
I'll
other
call them
things
later.
They have some parent yell at them about something.
Yeah,
the principal needed something signed that they didn't. Whatever.
Yeah, they have to fax something. Like the field trip stuff, you don't have to like. Up until this last year, it wasn't online. You had to like fax.
I don't even know if half the stuff. You could put a man on the moon, but you can't like make field trip forms easier. It's like so.
Yeah, it's insane. Here's what you should have ready to go if you really feel like you need to have stuff in front of you: a class roster with pictures. Now, I know sometimes you don't get the luxury of pictures. We have a great system where it just takes their picture from last year and dumps it in, and if they were anywhere within our district, so. Because it's really important for me to start learning the kids' names and then to their faces. Now, granted, we have the benefit of, again, we're teaching at the school we were at last year. So some of these little friends we knew already or saw them around, or they're like so-and-so's little brother or sister or whatever.
Yeah, I already know some that are coming
exactly.
this year.
You're like, oh, yeah, I taught you or whatever.
Right. Recess.
But yeah, for me, like, I really want to try and match the kid's face to the name, obviously. But then they're going to tell me the name pronunciation. So if it's the first time, I want to make sure I get it right. But I also kind of want to have it in my head already, like who these children are. And then a first day lesson, with all your routines or your checklists or what you're going over. And then if you have time to do anything beyond that, you are going to get your emergency sub-plans done.
Oh, yes. Do that now.
And
that is what I should go home and do today.
Emergency sub-plans?
Yes. Because I might have to have a sub in the first couple weeks of school.
So I have a whole video on it, which I will link. But this is what you're going to do. You are going to go, like, say you teach third grade or you teach fifth grade. You're going to go to the other fifth grade teachers or you're going to go to the other third grade teachers. And you're going to say, hey, we are going to do the sub-plans together. I'll write the math. Can you write an ELA one?
That's a good idea.
And if you could do like a fun game or an art one. And you go, yes. And you each do your piece and you run off enough copies, extra copies. And you give, the math one to everybody. You give the art one to everybody. And now you didn't have to do like 3 different subjects or whatever, because all the third grade teachers can have the same emergency subplans. It's not like your students are going to that other teacher's class or whatever. And you're done, because if something comes up that first week, like you're not going to You're not even know all their names, let alone
Yes.
have like plans ready. So having emergency sub plans, like I said, I'll link the video, but basically just I'm sure somewhere in your classroom you have like a packet of worksheets that you just never got to.
Oh, yeah.
Throw those in there. Oh man, I had this really great art thing and we just never did it. Throw that in there. Like you don't need to invent something or write something from scratch. You could have AI write it. You could have anybody or anything do it, but have at least a day's worth of plans, if not 3 days worth of plans.
Well, this kind of goes with the first day because there are times when I've done something. I'm like, wow, this is taking forever. I cannot believe how long it's taking them to do this. I always overplan and have extra little activities.
Oh, you're saying you've like held on to them. So yeah, throw them in
No,
the
but
thing.
for the first couple days, I have those extra ones. But as I go, oh, I have to do this assessment, or oh, I have to train them on this, or oh, there's this assembly. I have extras. Take those and immediately put them in your extra sub plans.
Yeah, because then they're good to go.
And then they're there. And they're always kind of, easy and generic.
Well, yeah, you have to remember, like, I'm teaching 5th graders, but they just finished 4th grade. Go down to the 4th grade teachers and be like, hey, is there stuff you didn't get to? And then they give it to you and it goes in your emergency plans because you're really getting 4th graders, right?
Mm-hmm.
So take 4th grade math or 4th grade whatever, read and analyze this text. So class roster with pictures, first day lesson. I'll link the routines and procedures. Like I said, it takes me 2 weeks to go through all of those things. So that's plenty of
know how they're
time.
getting home.
Know how they're getting home and emergency sub plans, and you're good. You don't even need to put up a poster for any of that.
I always do something like, here, let's do this getting to know you flag, or here, color this thing with your favorite, like your 4 favorite things, and then just...
Right. Favorite food, favorite animal. Yeah, and the kids are excited, but they're like nervous excited. And so I found having some of those very easy automated tasks for them, like I have them label their cubbies or whatever it might be, can be very calming and regulating.
If you have a composition book, you just have to number it or something.
Oh yeah, number the first 20 pages or whatever. Yes, I think is very comforting for students because they're already overwhelmed. They already think, what's the first question they ask? Are we gonna have homework tonight? Yeah. So they're always like thinking, oh my gosh, now I got to get back into it, and you are too. So giving them something easy.
As we are. I'm like going, oh, dang, I got to do this.
Giving them something easy like, oh, we're going to organize all the markers by color, or, oh, we're going to do this. They actually really like, and it doesn't matter the age group. Like the kids can handle it and do that. And things like going on a tour around the campus, because... Oh,
that's right. Maybe they're redoing your playground and it won't be ready till the middle of September. Yes. And so you have to show them where they can and can't go.
Where they can look at it and point, but they can actually go on the play structure.
Yeah, what can they do instead?
Yeah, and then that also takes away the anxiety of like that one new kid who doesn't know where the bathroom is. You don't have to be like, oh, can you show that one new kid where no, we're all going together. I'm going to show you where the bathroom is or where the cafeteria is or the line you walk through or whatever. This is a little kissy, but I always parade them through the front office and introduce the front office staff. And then show the like flow, like where they can walk and not walk.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
In front office, because I'm like, you cannot stand over here and block this walkway because it's going to disrupt a lot of things. But you can, because it's little things like that. Like you send kids to the office. Like I often send kids to the office for something. Like, oh, can you deliver this message? Oh, hey, they just called and the tissue boxes came in. Can you go get this from the office? But if you don't actually train the children, like you walk up to the office staff, you greet them, you stand here, you wait over here, you receive the whatever message, and then you come back this way, not that way. You come back this way. Like, they don't know to do those things. And then Ms. D's walking down the hall, and I'm like, why is this child? Where are they?
That is actually a good idea. That's a good time filler for the first day.
Like, take them on a little tour. Show them where they line up after
where the other 3rd grades are, where the new teacher is.
But yeah, knowing where the library is, knowing where everything is, knowing where the buses are going to come to pick them up and where they line up for that.
And where they should wait for rides and how to wait.
Exactly. Where the carpool is. See, there's our first day plans. Done. Unpack your stuff and walk around and greet people, and don't eat your whole lunch at morning recess.
That's it.
That's it. Thank you so much for your kind attention. Until next time, teachers. Bye for now.
Goodbye.
I'm going to turn on the air. I'm like sweating. That's not a good look.